Okay, here we go. Another Sunday, another week gone by. Faye, Phil, Lynn. Hello, hello. How you doing? So, okay. Just wondering how the new mic is doing. Okay. It's not a new mic. Sunday. It's a different mic. Faye, Phil, Lynn. Because my other one was giving me. So, a lot of problems. Okay. Just wondering how the new mic is doing. Okay. It's not a new mic. Sunday. It's a So I don't know if that was, yeah, an echo, yeah, that's what I kind of thought. I think I've just corrected that. Hopefully that's fixed that issue. And we should be able to carry on now. Just let me know if that's better. And once I know that everything's good, we'll start going here. We'll get into it. So just give me a yes or a okay. Sounds good. Okay, perfect. So yeah, I got a lot of different software on here now, so it's trying to get everything working. 2 monitors and all that stuff, right? And being technically challenged like I am. I screw up a lot. So anyways, yeah, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Newfoundland. Let me, I'm going to close one out here. Okay. Oh, there's just so much going on here in the Atlantic provinces. They're just going crazy. They want to lock us down, or lock us out of the bush anyways. But it's not going over as smooth as they thought it was, because everybody here, not everybody, but many here are very hardened now to restrictions after the last bunch of crap they put us through worldwide. But I know we got pretty bad here. Sharp, cheers from the woods, good for you. So I'm just going to, here we go, I get rid of any echo on this. I'm going to play this video, Premier of New Brunswick. It's very short, it's only 2 minutes long. And this is not quite as bad as Nova Scotia and Newfoundland yet. Subject to change probably rapidly. So I'll see if I can get this going here. Just give me 1 sec until I find it. There it is.
New Brunswick is taking further action on extreme wildfire risks, with Premier Susan Holt announcing Saturday that the province will be closing all Crown land to the public, much like Nova Scotia, with new restrictions taking effect at 12:01 a.m. Sunday.
So we're here on a Saturday afternoon to ask all New Brunswickers to get out of the woods and to stay out of the woods.
They include hiking, camping, fishing, and the use of vehicles in the woods, with all trail systems in wooded areas being off limits. limits, and camping being limited to campgrounds. Private landowners are being urged to take similar precautions as well.
Your support and New Brunswickers' action in this is crucial to keeping our wildfire teams focused on the fires that exist today and not adding to the problem.
Holt says she will not be implementing new fines at this time for enforcing the restrictions.
We are really hoping that at the end of all this, we will have issued 0 fines, because New Brunswickers will have seen the risk to their neighbors, the risk to our emergency response systems.
The large wildfire in Miramichi, which officials are now dubbing the Oldfield Road Fire, has more than tripled in size, measuring at 240 hectares on Saturday evening.
It is considered a Class 6 intensity fire, which means it is beyond control with our resources.
The province is urging the public to prepare for potential evacuation.
While no evacuation orders have been issued, every household needs an evacuation plan and an emergency preparedness kit.
As drought conditions are now at a point where a fire can become dangerous in a matter of minutes.
Given how dry our forests are today, if we don't get at it within the first 5 or 10 minutes, it can be a very difficult situation.
Residents are encouraged to stay updated on wildfire conditions at gmb.ca/firewatch. Johnny James, Global News, Fredericton.
Okay, sorry about that. I was just trying to get some settings going there, and I was just having an issue. I had some speakers turned off, so I couldn't hear what was going on. So, I think I got everything going here now. Faye, Buddy Brown, I haven't seen that one yet. So, maybe later we'll check that out. I think I've seen the thumbnail. And there. Like I say, it might take me a few minutes to get some of this stuff straightened out, but we'll work our way through it as usual. And yeah, Buddy Brown, okay, we'll check that out. I know there's lots of videos out on it right now. And I'm getting an error here. I don't know if the stream's coming through without any issues, or if I've got issues with the stream or not. My software is saying it's okay, but I'm getting a notification here from YouTube. Not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. So, yeah, all kinds of stuff going on here on these computers. I'll try this and see what this does. All good? Right on. So just YouTube there, they're just giving me notifications and warnings that I guess they don't really mean much then. So, wow. So I'm going to do a couple more quick videos here because that was New Brunswick. Didn't quite catch it. So, we'll do Newfoundland, and Newfoundland is really bizarre. They're talking $150,000. It's kind of hard to figure out what they're saying. There's a lot of misinformation, I think, around everything on both sides. because they're saying, Horgan is saying it's the first offense for anybody anybody caught lighting illegal fires. Well, they shouldn't be lighting illegal fires. So, but anyways, I'll bring it up. This one isn't a video, so I'll just bring it up on the screen. And I'm going to close some stuff out here. I'm still getting notifications, but I'll just carry on. If you guys say it's all right, then we'll just go with it. Now it's saying good connection, so I don't know. Anyways, excuse me. This is from St. John's, Newfoundland. I gotta have a drink here. It says, as some eastern Newfoundland's tinder dry forests continued to burn out of control, on Friday the provincial government exponentially increased its fines to those caught lighting illegal fires. A visibly angry Premier John Hogan said the fine for a first offense would rise from $75 to $50,000 with potential imprisonment of up to 6 months for those failing to pay the penalty. Despite the serious nature of what's happening, we are continuing to see reports of people setting fires, and in some cases setting fires intentionally, Hogan told a news conference. It's very clear from the size of the fine increase that we mean business. Fine for a second offense has jumped from $150 to $75,000, and a third violation will cost offenders a whopping $150,000 with up to 1 year in jail if not paid. If anybody's caught intentionally lighting a fire, why don't they go to jail the first time instead of giving them 3 strikes? That don't make sense to me, but hey. The Premier said the province's largest wildfire, which continued to burn out of control on the western shore of Conception Bay, had grown overnight to almost 28 square kilometers, keeping hundreds of people from their homes. The province has ordered evacuations of 8 small communities in eastern Newfoundland. Some homes and other structures have been damaged or destroyed, but the province has yet to release any figures. RCMP confirmed Friday they are investigating the cause of the fire that has been burning near the amalgamated town of Small Point Adams Cove, Blackhead Broad Cove. Well, that's quite a name for a town. Small Point Adams Cove, Blackhead Broad Cove. On Friday, they issued a statement seeking surveillance footage from local residents on the west side of Conception Bay. Residents who have video surveillance at their home or business are asked to review footage from May to August 2025 and report any suspicious activity, the RCMP statement said. Meanwhile, with so many displaced people looking for shelter on the Avalon Peninsula, the region is facing a shortage of accommodations. The province issued a statement late Thursday saying the Canadian Red Cross and Salvation Army were working diligently to help evacuees find a place to stay, but the government said accommodations are now severely limited on the Avalon Peninsula. With no rain in the forecast until next week, Hogan said Quebec's Premier François Legault had agreed to send 4 water bombers and 60 firefighters to help fight the flames. The increased fines in Newfoundland follow similar actions taken in Nova Scotia, where wildfires in 2023 scorched 25,000 hectares of land, destroyed more than 200 homes, and forced about 20,000 people from their homes. After the fires, the Nova Scotia government raised fines for burn ban violations to $25,000. As of August 6th of this year, Nova Scotia had already issued 10 tickets. Nova Scotia's fines also apply to a wide range of restrictions announced Tuesday, which include province-wide bans on hiking, camping, fishing, and use of vehicles in the woods. The sweeping new rules, which have sparked widespread anger and confusion, will remain in effect until October 15th, or until weather conditions reduce the risk of more fires. In New Brunswick, the provincial government has imposed restrictions on some forestry operations over the next 4 days. Both New Brunswick and Prince Edward Island have province-wide burn bans into effect. As of Friday, New Brunswick was dealing with 5 wildfires, with 1 small fire in the province's northeast listed as out of control. According to the Canadian Wildland Fire Information System, the risk of fire remained extreme across Newfoundland's Avalon Peninsula and much of mainland Nova Scotia. The risk was also very high across PEI and central Labrador. The rest of the region faces a high risk except parts of southern and western Newfoundland. It's probably all rock there. As the fires along Newfoundland's Conception Bay grew larger Friday, there was concern about smoke affecting the athletes taking part in the Canada Games, which start Saturday in St. John's. Environment Canada issued an air quality warning on Friday, saying the northern portion of the Avalon Peninsula was expected to experience a significant reduction in local air quality because of wildfires. Canada Games CEO Karen Sheriffs said daily consultations are planned with provincial officials about potential relocations, postponements, or cancellations if air quality becomes a problem. Venues for sailing and soccer in the community of Conception Bay South are about 30 kilometers north of the fire still burning near Holyrood, Newfoundland. Games are expected to attract 5,000 athletes during the next 2 weeks, along with coaches and support staff. So they're very concerned, and it's a hard call, but it sounded at first like Nova Scotia. Nova Scotia is an exception to the other 3 provinces, because Houston, which is, he's as conservative as Doug Ford, which is not very. So he's just saying, if you go to the woods, you get a $25,000 fine. I'm sure you've seen the video probably of the vet that intentionally got the ticket so he could get the court cases started. And it was $25,000 fine. It went up to $28,400 and something. But what was weird, it was the extra money was for a victim's fee or a victim's charge or something. I don't know. Anyways, it's messed up. So apparently, see, my other place is in the bush, but I can go there because it's a designated road. Even though it's a dead end, it's a designated road. So I'm all surrounded by bush. It's fairly dry. Right now I got other things to do anyways, but you know what I mean? This is just, it's not out of the ordinary, a lot of this. They close the woods quite a bit here during the summer when we get these dry summers. They're going a little bit extreme with all these fines and stuff, but it's, I guess things have changed once they got a taste of power and control. They like to use it now. So, it is what it is. I mean, we'll deal with it. I know that the biggest company in the province, Irving, have shut down operations in the woods. The only thing they're doing now is they're using trucks to haul logs out, which are a good idea anyways. You got to get to market, but not only that, it's just fuel laying there. So get that out of there, and then wait till we're in hurricane season now. So we could get a lot of rain in one big storm. So hopefully not, but today when I stepped out, it was like Santa Ana winds. It was just a hot wind blowing, like I'm telling you, like wouldn't want to be around a fire with the wind blowing like that, that's for sure. Now, story time. I gotta tell you a story. I've been through a couple of big wildfires. One was Fort McMurray, Alberta. And I was in camp in Fort Mac, and there's some people there. They had an old Suburban, and they were going down to Edmonton for the weekend. They said, "You want to come along?" And I said, "Yeah, sure. I'll get out of here." But there were fires burning, a lot of fire, and the highway it wasn't closed, but what we had to do was we had to wait our turn until there was a break and we could get through. And the people in charge, they said, "Okay, go fast, don't stop." And that's it, right? So we started through, and then we ran into a mechanical problem. The emergency brake was stuck on, and the rear wheel was heating up, and we weren't allowed to leave the road. We went through the flames. It was so hot in that Suburban, it was hard to breathe, and the heat was intense. But the flames also eat up oxygen, so it's not a good situation to be in. But we pulled off out of sight, and I got out, and he had a few tools there, and I just cut the cable to the emergency brake so we could get back on the road and get out of there. So that was one experience. The other one was a summer of fire in BC. It started when I left the lower mainland, and when I was coming back after maintenance shutdown, it was in its full glory. And I had a camper van. I was really running low on fuel, and I pulled into a gas station. It was all dark. The fire had burnt the power poles. So there was no power, and they couldn't run the gas pumps. And they was redirecting me over to 100 Mile. So I was 5 hours out of my way is where I was going to be heading, and me with no fuel in the van. Fortunately, there was a gas station along the way, and I made it to that, and I topped up and made it back into the lower mainland. But that was my two experiences. Also through Jasper, when I was going through Jasper, it was burning along the side of the road and burning off in the distance a bit too. And you look up the mountain, you see a jack pine up there. There's no flames around it, and that pine tree would just burst into flames from the heat. They were exploding, the trees. It was wild. I'm telling you, like really wild. So I've been through a few, and I really don't want to go through any more. Getting caught in a fire is not nice. So, because you got no control. You're at the mercy, and that's not good. So what's going on here with this, with these bans? Well, there is the Canadian Constitution Foundation, and they're fighting this. It says, "Keep Nova Scotia trails open, protect our forests without punishing nature lovers." The travel bans are not the solution to wildfire risks. On August 5th, Nova Scotia Premier Tim Houston announced a province-wide ban on entering woods, just from going into the woods, until October 15th. He says this is needed to prevent wildfires, but it is a severe overreach. The travel ban applies to anyone entering the woods without special permission for hiking, camping, fishing, or any other reason. These restrictions violate our ancient constitutional liberties. I guess so. Keep Nova Scotia trails open for responsible recreation. We urge Nova Scotia Premier Tim Houston to rescind this ban and implement targeted measures that protect our forests while respecting the rights of responsible nature lovers. For example, the province could temporarily ban activities that do create an increased risk of wildfires. And they got a petition that can be signed there. So there's that. There's the JCCF. is taking it on. And JCCF that's the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedom. That's, of course, the lawyers that represented Tamara and Chris. So now this is Christine Van Gyn. So I'm gonna put her on. It's a short video. Well, it's not really. It's 13 and almost 14 minutes, but at least she's explaining a few things. So I'll let you go through this. So no sound, eh? I'm not sure why that is, because I've got everything turned on here. Give me, let's see. Let's see what's going on. Okay. Maybe I can run it through my mic. Let me try something, okay?
Hey there. Today I want to talk about Nova Scotia's ban on going into the forest, which they claim is to keep people safe. And I want to talk about the problem with this safety above all else ideology, which is sometimes called safetyism, as well as Canada's nanny state. And I'll tell you what we are doing about it at the Canadian Constitution Foundation. I can't wait to tell you all about it. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Christine, and I'm the Litigation Director at the Canadian Constitution Foundation, a legal charity that fights for fundamental freedoms in Canada. I upload regular videos about our ongoing legal cases and about other interesting developments in constitutional law in Canada. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, please hit like and subscribe below. It really helps my videos out a lot. Also, please remember, nothing in this video is legal advice. If you have your own legal question or problem, please consult your own lawyer. Okay, so what the heck is happening in Nova Scotia? Well, on August 5th, Nova Scotia Premier Tim Houston announced a province-wide ban on entering the woods until October 15th. This was done by way of proclamation under a provincial statute called the Forests Act. And what this proclamation did is ban hiking, camping, fishing, and the use of vehicles like ATVs in the woods. Now this applies to Crown land, which is about 89% of Canada's land, most of it managed by provinces like Nova Scotia. But the ban actually even goes further. It applies to private property as well if you have forested property. You can go into your own property well, thanks for that, I guess. But you cannot invite other people to come onto your property if it's to go into the forest. So no inviting your mom over to walk her dog with you in the woods. And if you do, the fine for violating this forest ban is $25,000. Now the Premier says that this is due to an elevated wildfire risk. And yes, there are dry conditions in Nova Scotia, and preventing wildfires is important. A wildfire in 2023 did a lot of damage to Nova Scotia. Many houses were burned, a huge amount of forest was burned, and one of the purposes of the Forests Act, that piece of legislation this proclamation is made under, one of the purposes is preventing and mitigating wildfires in a changing climate. So it is the province's responsibility to prevent and mitigate fires. But the ban here does too much, because walking in the woods, fishing, having a picnic, bird watching, these things do not cause fires. Ban fires! That makes total sense. You can ban fires. That would prevent forest fires. And in fact, there are fire bans in place in parts of Canada every single summer. Look, I even understand the ban on vehicles. I can see that rationale. You know, an ATV or a motorbike in the woods can have hot exhaust pipe that could spark a fire if left in a pile of leaves. So there is a logical chain of reasoning there. But it makes no sense to ban walking. And it also makes no sense to have this ban in places where there are not active fires or this heightened, really severe risk. It is applying across the entire province. And it would make sense to ban entering the forest where there is an active fire, for example. That's the approach that's taken in British Columbia, where fires happen very regularly. Devastating fires happen in BC every season. There are bad fires in BC right now happening. And what that province does is they create exclusion zones. So they will have areas where you can't go into the forest. But they're in specific areas. They're not just all forests in the entire province. So BC is divided into different fire centers, and they have different levels of exclusion for different activities. So they might create a prohibition on a campfire or on different types of what are called open fires. These are pile fires that you might see on a farm. Or they might create a forest use or area restriction. If there's an area restriction, though, they will publish a map of what is restricted. So, for example, I'll put up a map of a restriction in BC Prince George Fire Center that's in place right now. This is related to the Kiskatuna River wildfire, and this is the map of where it applies. So these exclusion zones, they do exist for good reason. There's an active fire. You don't want people to get caught in an active fire, and you don't want them interfering with firefighting activity. But in comparison, Nova Scotia has currently 4 active wildfires that are under control, but they have banned going into any forest, even to walk in areas where there are no fires. Now, in Canada, we have access to Crown lands, which, as I said, is mostly managed by the provinces, and it can be used, Crown land can be used for things like hiking, camping, fishing, or hunting with a license, canoeing, but it's a regulated right. The province can put restrictions on our access to Crown land, and it can even restrict how we use private land. But just because something is regulated does not mean that the government has absolute, untrammeled discretion to do whatever they want. In Canadian administrative law, discretion refers to the ability of a decision maker, cabinet, government, an official, to choose between different permissible options when they're making a decision. But this discretion is not unlimited. It needs to be exercised lawfully, reasonably, and fairly. So discretion must be exercised within the bounds of the law and for the purposes that is intended by the statute. It needs to be exercised reasonably. It needs to be justified, transparent, and intelligible, and reflect a rational chain of reasoning. It cannot be based on irrelevant factors. This is all from a Supreme Court case called Vavilov. So here, I think that there is some administrative law vulnerability to this forest ban. There's just zero connection between walking in the woods and preventing wildfires. Walking does not cause wildfires. And to make some deduction that when people walk they might also do something else that causes a fire is just too much of a stretch. It's like saying people can't drive their cars because they might run people down on the sidewalk, or people can't walk on the sidewalk because they might punch someone in the face. You can ban the dangerous activity or the illegal activity without preventing the zero risk activity. Anything else is irrational, and it's couched in this terrible ideology of safetyism where no risk is acceptable. Safetyism is a mentality where risk becomes an excuse for control. It's a belief that safety, especially protection from physical or even emotional or mental harm, should be prioritized above all else, even at the cost of other fundamental values like freedom or autonomy or open debate. It often starts with what seem like good intentions, protect people from danger. But when safety becomes the highest value, governments, institutions, or even individuals begin to justify really extreme restrictions and overreach in the name of protecting the public. And it creates a culture where any risk is seen as intolerable, any disagreement or dissent is viewed as dangerous, and state control is normalized for your own good. Once a government sees that this overreach is workable, it's replayed over and over and over again every few years. And that's what we are seeing happen in Nova Scotia, because this is not the first time Nova Scotia has done this. They did it in 2023, they banned going in the woods in 2023, and in 2016 and in 2001. But when they did it in 2016, the fine was only $180, not $25,000. And it used to be, I think back in 2023, the fine was $237. But then the Nova Scotia government amended one of the offenses in this whole slate of fire-related offenses to $25,000 after those 2023 fires, when the government and all of the people in Nova Scotia were freaked out and upset about the damage that fire had caused. So they increased one penalty to $25,000. But because $25,000 is just absolutely insane, grossly disproportionate, and overkill, the Crown, when these tickets were coming in, they were plea bargaining them away to other lesser fire-related offenses. So then the government responded by amending the whole slate of these offenses to all be $25,000. But in a funny, technical point, these are not mandatory minimums. They're just out-of-court settlements. They're amounts that people can pay if they don't want to appear in front of a judge. A separate provincial statute actually allows the judge to remit all or some of the penalty to zero. So, true to form, this is all for show. It's so that the Nova Scotia government can act tough in front of the cameras. They just want to be seen as doing something, even if it is not anything meaningful. And they even created a tip line where they encourage you to snitch on people who you might suspect of, going for a picnic. I mean, does this give anyone else COVID deja vu? Remember when we were encouraged to snitch on our neighbors for hosting an illegal gathering like a family dinner? When the government says everything is dangerous, everything can be controlled. But when safety becomes a weapon, we all lose. So we at the CCF wrote to the Premier of Nova Scotia encouraging the government to rescind this ban, just act normally, ban fires, not walking. And even more than that, I think that the Forest Act doesn't even permit the province to ban walking in the woods for the whole province. While the Forest Act contemplates restricting travel into particular zones to protect the forests, it is unreasonable to interpret this part of the act as authorizing a blanket, province-wide ban on activities that pose no serious risk of sparking a fire. This blanket travel ban in the proclamation infringes the right to liberty protected by Section 7 of the Charter. It limits common law rights to use public lands, and it might also impact Aboriginal and treaty rights that are protected and guaranteed under Section 35 of the Constitution Act 1982. And, of course, as I said, this $25,000 fine is grossly disproportionate. So we've also made it possible for you to tell the Premier what you think of the forest ban with a petition to keep Nova Scotia trails open. It's at the ccf.ca/restore access to NS forests, Nova Scotia forests. So please go and sign it and share the petition on social media. We're also considering bringing a legal challenge to the forest ban, depending on how the government responds to our letter and to our petition. And one of the things that this whole experience has done is made me kind of sad and honestly frightened about the number of people that defend this type of thing. The number of people who would willingly submit to an authoritarian policy because the government tells them it is to keep them safe. And that is really depressing. You know, a lot of people are saying online that a massive $25,000 fine for walking is a good deterrent. I mean, we don't even have fines like that for certain criminal offenses. Other people are saying, you know, oh, people might walk, but when they do, they might also smoke. Okay, well, if people are let outside their homes, they may also commit a crime. The solution isn't to lock everyone inside. That is some Minority Report thinking and very authoritarian. And governments have historically done all kinds of atrocious things in the name of safety. You know, the War Measures Act was used in response to the October crisis to keep people safe. It was one of the greatest violations of civil liberties in Canada. The cancellation of Sean Foyt's concert permits that happened recently, that was done in the name of safety. The internment of Japanese Canadians was justified as safety. And of course, COVID restrictions were all done to keep us safe. To me, this feels like a real muscle memory being triggered and being told that where I can and cannot go in order to keep other people safe. And the same people who defended those COVID lockdowns that kept our children out of school and destroyed local businesses are now defending this fire lockdown. So please, go sign our petition, send a message to the Premier that this is not okay. I also have a report coming out next week about some of the worst examples of government overreach in the name of safety. If you sign up for our email update list at the ccf.ca/freedom updates, you'll receive that report coming out next week, where I go through the top 10 worst examples where the government has violated civil liberties in the name of safety. This overreach in the name of keeping us safe and protected needs to stop. Government isn't my dad. I don't need them telling me where I cannot go and what is best for me. Okay, that's all for this update. Thanks for watching.
So, Christine, like I say, she's on it, and also, I just gotta, this video might kick off before I'm ready. But, anyways, I had to kind of do a workaround. I had to run that through my mic. I'm not sure exactly what's going on. I think I might have it figured out, but I did change a setting here that but I don't think I can change them during a live stream is the problem. So I might have to go with this. That's what it's looking like. Once the stream starts, it's hard to change any settings. Anyways, okay. This one here, this is Marty Moore. This is a very short one. I think it's a 2-minute one. And if I find Buddy Brown, I don't think I can do that right now when I'm on here, but I'm going to check it out, and yeah, everybody else should check it out. I know he does good stuff.
Are you considering going solar in New Brunswick? I
No.
put panels on my place with a 0% interest, 10-year payback.
It's just a thuggish.
Well, this is Ezra. I might get a strike on that one.
Saving money always matters. Get up.
That is the problem with with this. There he is here. This is one I wanted. It's only 3 minutes long. I don't know how good his volume is, but this is the lawyer that's going to be going after Tim Houston in Nova Scotia.
Nova Scotia order banning people from the woods is bad and probably worse than you think. It's really a climate change power grab. The legislation enabling this kind of order is expressly premised on the idea of fighting forest fires in a changing climate. This climate change power grab is coming from a province with plenty of experience in tyranny during COVID, where it fired unvaccinated judges, resulting in pedophile charges being dropped, where it banned people from gathering along highways to show support for the Freedom Convoy, and where it recently actually passed a law allowing the Minister of Health to access everyone's private medical files. This order banning people from the woods is very broad. It applies even to private property. The order itself states that entry into the woods for purposes of traveling, camping, fishing, or picnicking, or any other purpose without a valid travel permit in all counties in Nova Scotia is prohibited. And so this kind of broad language, while some of the statements from the government indicate that they might not prosecute people doing other kinds of activities, even on their own property, is incredibly broad. There's obviously constitutional concerns. You can't go for a walk in the woods. In 1994, the Supreme Court of Canada held that to ban the loitering around playgrounds of people convicted of serious offenses, including crimes against children, that was an unconstitutional violation of people's liberty interests. How much more when people are banned from walking in their own woods or walking in the public woods of the province of Nova Scotia? Is that not a violation of your right to roam, your liberty interest protected under the Canadian Constitution, Section 7 of the Charter? We think it is. Further, it's just unreasonable. The law allows for the minister to make orders that are necessary. Section 25 allows that when it's deemed necessary for the protection of the woods, these travel restrictions can be imposed. But is it really necessary to protect the woods, to prohibit somebody from walking on a path? And no, one careless step doesn't cause a fire. A careless fire, a careless spark, a careless throwing away of a cigarette causes a fire. Why don't you ban those activities rather than banning activities that have no rational connection to the starting of fire? Really, at the end of the day, this law views people as the problem, not dangerous activities. This law is anti-human. And should someone find themselves on the wrong end of a charge, a massive charge, $25,000 fine for going into the woods, you can expect a constitutional challenge and a judicial review of this order. Thanks to the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms, I have the privilege of leading a legal team, including a team with lawyers ready to litigate in Nova Scotia.
So it's going to be one of those live streams where nothing wants to work. I don't know if it froze up on your end, but it did on mine for some reason. Now, I'm going to play, this is a 1 minute and 17 video. 17-second video. The audio should be pretty good on it, and it's we're going to drift over to Epstein for 1 minute and 17 seconds on that Epstein character. I think you'll recognize some of the people in this video.
My partner and I were called in to investigate Epstein's death. I couldn't shake the feeling that we're missing something. I couldn't put my finger on it, but I knew something was off.
Please disperse. Come on, it's like you've never seen
drown themselves from this cell. Doesn't make sense, you know.
Yeah.
Lieutenant Drebin, Department of Justice.
Oh, I remember you, Drebin. What do you want?
I want to ask you some questions. You familiar with that face?
I don't know. My memory ain't so great.
Oh, yeah? Maybe this will refresh your memory.
I don't know. It's still kind of hazy.
How about this?
Yeah, I remember him. I used to see him around. Why do you want to know?
I can't tell you that.
Well, maybe this will help.
I really don't think I should.
Yeah, you still don't think so?
All right, his name was Epstein.
He was a pervert.
What?
I'm telling you, he was dirty.
Oh, you silly scum. I ought to run you in right now.
I swear it. So what are you going to do about it, copper?
Well, why should I tell you?
Maybe this will help.
I still don't think I should tell you.
Can you stop me at 20? How about now?
I miss Leslie Nielsen. I just had to throw that one out there for giggles, since everything was going all sideways on me here. So, we've got the usual stuff I want to take a quick look at. And it's we're going to drift off on different things here. This is the asylum claims. And what they've done is, like I've said before, there's something going on here. They stopped in March. There's been no numbers come out since March. So they're holding back for some reason, because I guess the numbers are so high they don't want anybody to see what's going on. I don't know. I think I noticed that Michelle Rempel had was kind of on this. She jumps on some things once in a while, but not not as much as she should. And I think, as far as I know, she's still going to be a backbencher. So, and the other thing was the price of gold going through the roof. And it's going to, all that does is show how much the dollar is being devalued. I'm trying to look at things and talk just like I did last week. I shouldn't be doing that. But anyways, Canada doesn't have any gold. So, unfortunately, I'm going to get on to that in a minute. And just a bit froze. Yeah, it says my stream is not doing good for some reason. So it's too bad. Michelle Rempel's two-faced globalist. Exactly. That's what I think too. I've lost everything here. I want to get my stream up. My chat up is what I'm looking for. Just give me 1 second. Because there's something that... It's this guy, like... Come on, computer. It is this one here. This guy here on X. He posted this. This is Dr. Matthew S. Johnston. So he says Poilievre and his staunch supporters love to articulate what Prime Minister Mark Carney apparently hasn't done. He says, well, one thing I noticed he hasn't done is recklessly cut and obliterate Canada's social safety net during depressed and unpredictable economic times. Why not focus on that? So who is this guy anyways? Standing up for Mark Carney. Oh, he's a doctor. He's got a PhD. He's a sociologist, a researcher, a coach, a father of 3, happily married, progressive. Play guitar and sing. I speak about Canadian politics. I follow Jesus. Go Jays. Prince Edward Island. So his post here on X didn't go over real good. There's Mark Dietz. He says, you mean the pit of debt that will be passed on for generations rather than get building wealth creation and projects to employ people? Island Times, you want to celebrate doing nothing while the economy collapses? Rod Lovell? No, he just doubled the deficit at the very least. See what happens to your meal ticket when Canada defaults on its loans. You can kiss your CPP goodbye too. That's another point too. If they breaks the country, our CPP and all that stuff will be gone. Bob Smith, if you're not keeping track, here's Carney's track record. 0 budget, 0 trade deals, 0 ferries built in Canada, 0 homes built, 0 new jobs, 0 pipelines, 0 new investment, 0 inflation reduction, 0 debt reduction, 0 help for homeless, 0 reduction in immigration, 0 deportations. That's a longer list I won't go into. You're celebrating doing nothing. The progressive left has some serious issues. Focus on him not doing something clever, but that is exactly what conservatives are saying. He is doing nothing. So, doctor, educated but not intelligent. Trudeau destroyed Canada. Predictions show recession in the next 60 days. I just think we're already in recession. So, there's Dog Turd. We could focus on why we're experiencing depressed and unpredictable economic times. Crisis, crisis, crisis. It's fine. Everything's fine. I want to get down here. I don't know if she's going to come up on this one or not, on this feed. Or on this string here. Now, look at this picture here. I'm going to bring this up. I looked at this and I thought of something. You see how, look at Carney. Where's his other hand? Look at the look on his face. He's got one hand on the guy's back. The guy's got his arm around Carney. But where's Carney's other hand? I see his arm hanging down there. Kind of weird, isn't it? It's something Justin would do. So, anyways, just wanted to bring that one up. And down here, I think we have, there she is. This is the one, Butch Cassidy here running for against Pierre. Butch here is running independent in Battle River. So I just wanted to show you that one too, because well, you know what I mean, right? This is Canada, right? Not too messed up. So and there is something else. When I went on to, I actually went on to Grok on X, and I mentioned about the gold, Carney selling off the gold, and Grok replied, AI replied and said, no, that's really not factual. It's going around on social media platforms that Carney sold off Canada's gold when he was governor of the Bank of Canada, and that's not so. Don't put all your faith in AI, that's for sure, because I'll show you. This goes back, because I've said this before, that Carney sold off our gold. Trudeau finished off the last few ounces. The problem is, the reason I'm getting into this gold is gold is going to be revalued, and Trump is he's moving on that, and we don't know how much it's going to be worth, but it's going to go up a lot in value, and that's going to tank the dollar. So it's going to be gold backs for currency. This is the word on the going around now from some of the people I follow. So they seem to be tuned in pretty good. And what they're saying is a win for central banks, especially ones that bought a lot of gold. China was buying a lot, India was buying a lot, Russia was buying a lot, a few other countries are buying it up. We have zilch, zero. So it's a win for the central banks that have gold, and the ones that don't, the dollar's going to tank. We're not going to have anything. Carney sold ours off, and he probably advised Trudeau to sell off the last of it, and they invested in foreign currencies. So when their currencies tank, we're in trouble. So I looked today, I just went back a little bit in time, back when Carney was the governor of the Bank of Canada. And I found this article here from Maclean's magazine. That was back when Maclean's actually had some articles that weren't too bad. That's just a statue out in front of the British precious metals market. April 2nd, this was back in 2012. Okay, so April 2nd, Bank of Canada Governor Mark Carney stepped in front of a business crowd in Waterloo, Ontario to speak about the state of Canada's foreign trade. His message, more or less, was this: we need to break our national reliance on exports to the U.S. The country is a wounded behemoth. Who was the president in 2012 in the U.S.? Well, that would have been Barack Obama. And the country was a mess back then. Anyways, it says, and we would do better to focus on trade with economic up-and-comers. By that, the governor probably meant the likes of China and India. But this is just a repeat of what he's doing now. But by looking at our trade numbers, one would think Canadian exporters are taking it to mean the UK as well. He's trying with the UK, but he's not getting anywhere. Probably not either with India or China, maybe China. Over the past decade, the value of Canadian exports to the centerpiece of the Commonwealth have skyrocketed. In 2011, they hit a record high of $18.8 billion, up more than 324% since 2002. The UK is now Canada's biggest export partner, while China is only third. The Brits are importing a number of things from Canada, from uranium, nickel, and sawdust, 2 sheets of newsprint, and kidney beans. But the real story here is about gold. In 2011, Canada sold to the UK a whopping 63% of the $16.8 billion worth of non-monetary unwrought gold, which includes gold powder, coins, bars, and bullion. It exported worldwide. That was over 4 times the relatively paltry 2.8 billion of Canuck gold the UK bought in 2007. So he did sell our gold off. So what's going on? It's a double whammy effect of nervous investors stocking up on gold amidst volatile financial markets and gold prices rising as a result of this increased demand, says Michael Burt, Director of Industrial Economics with the Conference Board of Canada. And because the UK is home to the London Metals Exchange, one of the world's most important trading hubs for the industry, billions of dollars worth of gold have been traveling across the Atlantic as investors turned to gold. So AI was wrong. I'll say I was right. I'll take a win on that one. Because Carney just cleaned us out. It went over to the UK. Where'd he go? He followed it. He went over there and became governor of the Bank of England. Didn't do a very good job. He trashed their economy too. So Sharp Harper was PM then, that's right, and Flaherty was finance minister. And I don't know how that plays out. Who, if the governor of the Bank of Canada has a say in the transactions, is it a joint effort between Prime Minister or Finance Minister rather, and Governor of Bank of Canada? I don't know how the pecking order is in that, but it's gone. There's nothing there. Not even any dust, gold dust. So yeah, he cleaned us out. Now he's back to finish the job, break the country, just like he did the UK. We're heading in a very dangerous direction, and I'm concerned, and a big majority of Canadians are concerned, the ones that can think for themselves, about the finances of the country, the mess it is after Trudeau and with this guy in here. And his son's 2 nuggets too. Well, and look, all this is, look at Doug Ford on there bashing Trump on CNN. That's not a help. That's not getting us anywhere. Donut Boy should keep his mouth shut. So, but he's not. He just loves running off at the mouth, saying stupid stuff, and he's just running the country into the ground. He's still threatening. I think he stopped threatening about cutting the power off. I don't know. He's an idiot. He's a liberal. And I'll tell you another quick little story here too. I went to my oldest sister the other day, and she tells me, I can't stand Trump. I just can't stand that guy. And she's getting dementia, and it's really coming on strong now. And I say, well, why? I don't know. I just don't like him. I don't like that man at all. And you don't know why? No, I don't know why. When I walked in the other day, she was sitting there watching The View. Whoopi Goldberg was on the screen, and I'm looking at her. She shut the TV off, and I'm thinking, I didn't say anything, but thinking, that's why you hate Trump. But you don't know why, because you got dementia. As soon as you turn the TV off, you forget where you heard it. So, it's too bad. It's sad, actually, but yeah. Just walk in there and see The View on the big screen. I just cringed, eh? What is that down on there? Yeah, wow. Hey, man. Doug Ford said he was going to put Donald Trump on notice. Trump is going to put Canada on notice. I can see it coming. It already is. Won't take Carney's phone calls. I think that's funny. He's got more trade deals coming through, more business coming in. That's the scary part. The businesses have to leave Canada. It's not they want to, they have to. They got a better deal in the US. They've got security. For now, I don't see the Democrats going back in down there, actually, for quite a while. But Apple swinging deals there with the chips and the glass for the phones is another big one. So there's all kinds of stuff going on in the U.S. and with the auto manufacturing sector and all that. My neighbors across the way, they're hardcore liberals. Liberals could run a chimpanzee like they did before Carney, and they'd vote for it. But I was telling them about my brake parts. I said the rear brakes, I had to pick up the parts, they're over $600. And he said, "Whoa, that's the guy's 96 years old. I got to give him a break." He said, "Well, that's probably because of 35% tariffs, if they're on yet." And I said, "No, it's not that. That's just regular price." He doesn't understand how tariffs work. So I don't think there's any. I think they're also in the USMCA trade agreement, anyways. But no, if the parts are made in Canada, we don't pay the tariff on parts made in Canada. They just hate Trump too, because they watch CBC and they watch The View. They're hard nuts to crack. I don't even try. So, and then my camp neighbor, he works on the base, and he said, "Well, Carney's giving the military a raise." I said, rephrase that. Carney promised he's going to give the military a raise. That doesn't mean they're getting it. And now look, it just come out when the reporter asked him. Well, no, it's not 20%. Well, it is for some, for the new recruits and new hires. But look at our chief of defense. I forget her name, but she's a DEI hire, and she believes in DEI for the military. So, and they'd be the new hires. So any of the DEI that come in, transgender and all that, they'll be getting a 20% increase for enlisting. So, Germano, yeah, Corning glass, yeah, iPhones and watches. So, yeah, I mean, that's not going to fly, and it still ticks me off about these F-35s. Harper's going to get them, Trudeau canceled, then Trudeau said, "Okay, now we're going to get them." So we lost money, and now they're more expensive. And then Carney says, "We're going to get the F-35s." And he said, "Well, no, we might get some, but we'll get maybe some from Europe." And these liberals are just taking us down. It's intentional. And the people that voted for them still can't see it. That's what's so disappointing. It might be a few starting to come around now. The working age, the ones that are losing their jobs, they might see. Problem is, those jobs are not coming back. When they're gone, they're gone. Just lost 40,000 in July. And Carney says, "Well, yeah, well, we gained jobs in Ontario, those jobs are mainly in Alberta and Saskatchewan. So in other words, Alberta and Saskatchewan don't count. But Ontario does. Because Doug Ford throws digs out at Trump, so Carney likes that. Elbows up, Doug. Yeah. And Houston and Nova Scotia. The two of them were at the barbecue with all the Liberals. Ford and Houston. You must have seen, some of you must have seen that picture. Freeland and Carney and Dominic LeBlanc. I don't know if Jolie was there, but yeah, what a mess. All the bootlicking grovelers and Carney, little man. I call him the little man now because he's just a little short little runt. So every time I comment, I'll comment on his posts on X, and I'll call him little man, right? He's got to step up on a stool when he's at the podium, right? Because everybody else is taller than him. I think Freeland is almost taller than him. So, terra firma can't even get a job at Walmart in Ontario. No, because you're Canadian. All these, I asked Grok, here we go again. I asked Grok this question. No, that wasn't it. No, that question's gone. So I asked about European replacement. In Canada. I'll put it in here again, see what it says. I asked our European Canadians. No. Our I forget how I asked that question. Is I gotta remember how I asked it so I can get it back up again. Are the new immigrants a replacement for European born Canadians? That was the question I asked. And what did I get for it? That's similar, something like that. I'm not sure how I worded it. Yeah, here it is. The idea, this way you can't trust AI. The idea that new immigrants are a replacement for European-born Canadians is a charged framing, often tied to debates about demographic change and cultural identity. Let's break it down with data and reasoning, avoiding speculative narratives. It says Canada's population has been shaped by immigration for centuries, with which shifts in source countries reflecting economic, policy, and global changes. Historically, most immigrants to Canada come from Europe, but since the 70s, the share of immigrants from Asia, Africa, and other regions has grown significantly. According to Stats Can, in 1971, 62% of recent immigrants, those arriving in the prior 5 years, were from Europe, while by 2021, 62% were from Asia. This shift is driven by changes in immigration policies, like the 1967 points-based system, which prioritized skills and economic contributions over national origin, as well as global migration patterns. In 2021, immigrants made up 23% of Canada's population, the highest in over 150 years. With 1.3 million new immigrants arriving between 2016 and 2021, no, that 1.3 million, of course, that doesn't count for the asylum seekers, the refugees, the TFWs, and the foreign students. Once they graduate, they get their citizenship. None of that, eh? Top source countries are now India, China, and the Philippines, with Europe's share of recent immigrants declining to about 10 to 15%. I think that's high. I think it's more like 2 to 3%. This doesn't mean European-born Canadians are being replaced in a deliberate sense, but reflects a broader diversification. This is a sketchy way around this, you know. The total population of European-born Canadians isn't shrinking significantly. Rather, the proportion of new immigrants from Europe is smaller compared to other regions. Well, it went from 62% to 10 to 15% right there, which means it's shrinking. Population dynamics also play a role. Canada's fertility rate is low at 1.3 births per woman, below the global average of 2.4, and the native-born workforce is aging. Immigrants who are often younger, median age of newcomers in 2011 was 31.7, compared to 37.3 for Canadian-born. That helped offset this by filling labor gaps and sustaining economic growth. From 2016 to 2021, new immigrants accounted for 71.1% of population growth in private households. Without immigration, Canada's population would stagnate or decline, as seen in some other developed nations. It don't matter, it's the sources, and they're taking the jobs. They're flooding. They're flooding in and taking the jobs, and AI is not acknowledging that. The replacement narrative, often tied to controversial ideas like those in the linked Council of European Canadians article, implies a zero-sum scenario where non-European immigrants displace European-descended Canadians culturally or demographically. Just look at the streets of Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, Edmonton, Calgary, Halifax, and even here. The view overlooks the fact that immigration is additive, not subtractive. European-born or descended Canadians aren't being forced out. However, critics of high immigration levels, as noted in 2023 Environics Institute survey, expressed concerns about housing and social service pressures. 44% of Canadians feeling immigration levels are too high, up from 27% in 2022. These concerns focus on practical issues, not necessarily ethnic replacement. This is smoke and mirrors, this answer. On the flip side, Canada's multiculturalism policy, rooted in the belief that diversity strengthens society, encourages integration without erasing existing cultural identities. European culture influences remain strong. English and French are still the dominant languages for now, and many institutions reflect historical European roots. But they're tearing the signs down, the statues down, so the institutions are being renamed. Immigrants, regardless of origin, contribute to this framework, with 32% of business owners with paid staff being immigrants, and many working in critical sectors like healthcare. Old Grok, you haven't been to a Tim Hortons, have you? In short, new immigrants aren't replacing European-born Canadians, but are part of a long-standing pattern of demographic evolution driven by economic needs and global trends. The shift in immigrant origins reflects policy changes. Policy changes, and global realities, not a deliberate effort to supplant any group. Well, that's why the policy changes are in there. Cultural and economic contributions from all groups coexist, though debates about immigration's pace and impact persist. If you're looking for a specific angle like economic effects or cultural integration, let me know and I can dig deeper. I think I went on and dug deeper and it changed its story a little bit, but you know, if it's so, if it's like Grok says, which it's not, but if it was, why are they hiding the numbers? Why aren't they showing the numbers? of the refugees, asylum seekers. Look what happened with Syria. They had a bidding. It was during an election when Trudeau won in 2015. They were bidding up. Harper said he was going to bring in 10,000, I think it was. Well, no, that was not enough. Trudeau said he'd bring in 15. Tom Mulcair said, I'll bring in 20. Trudeau said, we'll bring 25. Mulcair, we'll bring in 35. You know, Trudeau meeting them and handing out winter coats and stuff, which was fine, but it was just a photo op. He might have taken it back. I don't know, the Canada Goose. But I'm surprised he wasn't down on his knees. He seems to like being down on his knees a lot for some reason. So, yeah. These big cities, and here, the premier here, we need another 4,000. But the thing is, come to find out, Atlantic Canada now has been accepting. This is the area of Canada that right now is taking the most. I know the other provinces are pretty full. So Atlantic Canada is accepting the largest number, but we're not getting immigrants. They're sending asylum seekers, is what they're sending. The asylum seekers aren't coming here looking for a job. Some of the immigrants are looking for a job. Asylum seekers aren't. They're coming here saying, look, I had to leave my place because my life was in danger and that big mean Trump was going to kick me out, send me back to Haiti or send me back to Colombia or wherever, right? Because we're getting Haitians and South Americans coming through regularly through Roxham Road. So, Marie, Montreal language most spoken at home is Arabic. I just watched Gavin McGuinness. Before I come on here, he was talking about coming to Canada from the US, flying up to see his family, and his experience at the airport. And when he got here, his brother lives in Toronto. He went to visit him, and he said that there were only 2 people on the street speaking English. It was mostly Arabic. I'm sure Gavin was not impressed, and they wouldn't be impressed with him either, but he would hold his own, that's for sure. I just subscribed to his channel, actually. I forget what it's called now, but it's a good one if you want to get some chuckles. I'll see if I can bring it up for you, the name of his channel. Let's see what it says. Right here, subscriptions. A little coarse language, but that's Gavin. Let's see if I can bring it up here, but he's always been quite the character. Might have to go through the list. There it is. Compound Censored. So if you want to check out Gavin McGuinness, check out Compound Censored. He always says it like it is. His Canada is effed. It's over. Gavin McGuinness exposes the replacement. There you go. The replacement of Canadians. So, I mean, it's happening. It's right in our face. Anyways, Canadian National Compound Censored. You found it, yeah. Or you got it, yeah. It's Compound sensors, yeah. Gavin McInnes, huh? Yeah, that last one there is pretty funny. His experience at the airport and coming into Canada, watching it, seeing what the mess it is after he left. He was one of the originals of the Proud Boys. And that was another farce. Trudeau putting them down as a terror organization. What a bunch of crap. They're just the opposite. So yeah, okay. So folks, it was another messed up one here, but live stream because for some reason I couldn't get that audio working properly. Something to tinker with through the week. So hope you all have a wonderful week, all things considered. And we'll do it again next week. Thanks a lot for joining in and putting up with it. Well, hopefully next week it'll be a little more organized. I think I said that last week. So, chin up. You know, look on the sunny side of life, right? No matter how cloudy it is. And we'll do it again next week. See you later. Take care. God bless.